Hi, my name is Nicholas. Welcome to this week's Yin practice. For props for today, a soft block, a couple hard blocks, and a strap will likely come in handy, and then anything else you like to practice with. And when you're ready, we'll get started lying down on the belly, and you might have your soft block nearby. And straight away, if you know that lying on the belly is a little bit uncomfortable, feel free to add some padding, or you can lie a blanket down on top of your mat or something like that. And we'll set up to extend the arms out in front. So straight away, you might place the elbows on your prop and see about lowering the forehead either to the floor or to the tip of the prop. And then from here, you can bend the elbows, reach the fingertips towards the ceiling, palms together. See how this feels in the body. If it feels too intense for right now, you can soften it. If there's any other part of the body that feels like it needs a little extra support, take a moment to add that in. And for the rest of the body, just let it relax here. If the heels want to kind of flop out a little bit, if there's anything else in the legs or somewhere along the spine that can soften. Notice if the mind has started to wander here. And see if you can guide your attention back to the body and back to the breath. Only when you feel ready to, you can gently re-extend the arms, walking the hands roughly underneath the shoulders, and then press yourself up to a tabletop position. See if you need anything here. A little movement for the spine, maybe a few rounds of cat-cow or something like that. And then keeping space around you, we'll set up for the next shape. Thread the needle with the arms so you can ground down through the left arm, and then thread the right arm underneath, eventually lowering the right shoulder, the right side of the head down to the floor. And then check in here to see if you need a little extra support, maybe a little extra padding. You can bring your soft block in. Left hand can stay exactly as it is. If it feels better to bring the left hand to the right, then go for it. If you want to find a half bind or something like that, then go for it. Take a moment to find your version of the shape. And then finding your stillness. And when you feel ready to, you can return the left hand to the floor if it isn't there already. And gently start to unravel yourself. You can reach the right arm up towards the ceiling, finding a counter twist. And then as you're ready, you can bring that right hand back down to the floor. And we'll set up for the second side. This time, right hand down, left arm threads through, left shoulder, left side of the head to the floor, maybe to a prop. This side may feel a little different, so take your time and set yourself up. The option to take the right hand to the left, or to keep the right hand to the floor, or take it somewhere else. Find your pain-free expression and settle into it. Gently return the right hand to the floor. You can press up, unravel back to center, take your counter twist. And then when you're ready, you come and find your child's pose. So you might take the knees a little further apart, hips towards the heels, and then slowly start to lower the chest, the arms down towards the floor. And see what feels good here, see if you need any extra support. Let the body get really heavy here. Slowly, you can start to walk the hands back in. We'll come up and find a kneeling shape. So check in here and see how this feels for the legs. You're welcome to find a cross-legged position instead, or if you'd like to add a little height, maybe something between hips and heels, or if you want to sit on your hard blocks, then go for it. Take a moment to settle the hips down to gently lengthen the spine, and then reach the arms wide. We'll take the left arm underneath the right. Your hands can come and find the shoulders, or you can interlace the forearms, bringing the backs of the hands or the palms towards each other. And see how this feels straight away. If there's any pinching going on in the shoulders, then you can release. Otherwise, if this feels okay, then you might close down the eyes and stay with it for a few deep breaths. As you feel ready, gently release the arms. And if you need to give the arms a little shake out, or if the legs need a little shake out in between sides, then go for it. Otherwise, we'll set up so you can reach wide, and this time take the right arm underneath the left. And again, either hands to shoulders, or you can interlace the forearms. This side may need something a little different to the first, so take your time here. And when you're ready, find your stillness, maybe close down the eyes, and be with your breath. And gently release this side as well. Maybe roll the shoulders a couple of times, give the arms that little shake out. And then find your hard blocks and your strap. And we'll come and find a forward fold position, a dangling shape. So just take your time to set yourself up, and you can use the props to bring the floor as close as you need it to be. It might feel nice to stretch out the legs a little bit. Maybe a pedaling here, a little snaking with the spine. And find a distance between the feet that feels appropriate. So they might be hip distance apart, they could be a little closer, a little further away. And then you can have the legs mostly extended, but add as much of a bend as you need to make the low back feel okay in this shape. And see what it feels like to start to let the spine gently round over the legs, let the head get nice and heavy here. The hands can stay on the props the whole time,
Or the option is there to reach for your strap. Maybe you want to take the hands behind the back. You might use the strap so that the hands don't have to be all the way together. It might stretch the shoulders a little differently to keep the hands about shoulder width apart. And you can keep the hands near the low back, or you can start to reach the arms up towards the ceiling. Listen to your body. Always the option to come out sooner if you need to, especially if the arms start to feel a little numb or like pins and needles. Otherwise, settle into your shape. If you have a strap or a bind, you can gently release the hands. You might bring the hands back to the props and find a halfway lift shape, stretch out the legs, stretch out the spine. And then you might take the feet a little bit wider apart. You can point the toes at an angle and then start to bend the knees, and we'll come down and find a squat pose. And check in to see what you need here. If you'd like to make yourself a seat with your hard blocks, it might take some pressure out of the knees. You could also take a block under each heel if that feels more comfortable. And then option here to round the upper spine. So you could do that with the hands to the floor or the hands in prayer. And think about bringing the chin in towards the chest and then letting the head get heavy. And if everything feels okay here, option as well to interlace the hands behind the skull. Not so much to pull, but just using the weight of the arms to deepen the sensation along the spine. Always a pain-free expression. Gently release the interlace if you have it. You can start to lift the head back up. If you have any props underneath you, you can take them out of the way, and then we'll lower the bum down to the floor. It might feel nice to extend the legs for a moment, maybe tap the knees or windshield wiper the feet. We'll find a counter stretch for the spine, so you could bring the feet flat to the floor here, have the hands somewhere behind you, and then angle the hands however they feel best for the shoulders. So it might be fingers pointing towards the feet or pointing out to the sides or behind. And you can stay right here and start to puff the chest up, maybe lift the gaze. An option to stay or come to reverse tabletop, pressing through the feet, lift the pelvis as well. Either way, take a few deep breaths wherever you are, and then you can come out when you feel ready. As you're ready, you can lower the pelvis down to the floor and come and find any comfortable seated position, maybe sitting up off of one of your props. And from your cross-legged position, we'll set up to stretch through the neck. So take a moment to ground down through the pelvis, to lengthen through the spine. And then from here, you can start to invite the right ear to lower towards the right shoulder. And see how that feels. If this feels like plenty, then you can stay. Otherwise, you might think about reaching the left fingertips towards the floor. It might deepen the stretch. And you could also bring the right hand to the skull. And again, just using the weight of the arm more so than pulling. And if you do feel pinching or something like that, there's always the option to change your angles a little bit. So maybe you're pointing the chin a little bit more towards the floor or towards the ceiling. So feel free to play around. And once you find the place that you want to settle into, then find your stillness there. Gently release the right arm if you have it. You can bring the left hand back in. Roll the chin in towards the chest, and then roll the head over towards the left. And do that a couple of times. Chin towards the chest, head towards the right. And back to the other side. And when you're ready, you can bring the chin towards the chest, and then lift the skull, stack it on top of the spine once again. We'll set up for the second side, so you can start to take the left ear towards the left shoulder. And again, this side may feel different. You may end up in a different place, or you can play with the angles a little bit. If everything feels okay and you want to add on, maybe the right fingertips reach, or maybe the left hand to the head. And take it slow. Gently release the left hand and the right back to the lap. And chin towards the chest. You can roll the head over towards the right. And then back over towards the left. And do this as many times as you need. And when you feel ready, you can allow the chin to come back towards the chest. And once again, lift and stack the skull on top of the spine. Now check in here. When you're ready, we'll set up for our rest pose. I'm going to choose to stay in a seated meditation for today. So if you're joining me here, you might just switch the cross of the legs to keep things a little more even for the hips. If you'd rather lie down on the back, then go for it. Find any comfortable, symmetrical shape to rest in. And if your body needs a little movement before you get there, then go for that as well. When you do feel ready to find your stillness, then start to release, let the body get heavy. Find a sense of rest and quiet. Gently bring your attention back to the space. And take a few deep breaths to reawaken the body. With an inhale breath, you might shrug the shoulders up to the ears and then soften them down and back as you exhale. Do that 2 more times. Once more. And settle them down and back. If you're on your back, take a moment to come up and find a seated position. you arrive in your seat, and take a scan through just to notice. Notice the body, notice how you're feeling. When you're ready, you can connect the palms in front of the heart and maybe bow the chin in towards the chest. And take a moment to thank yourself for your practice. And thank you for sharing your practice today. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for Yin Practice, and my name is Nicholas. If you have any questions, please reach out and enjoy the rest of your day.